Welcome back to the Limelight Healing Podcast where laughter meets inner peace. We're your host, Shaka.
And I'm Kiana.
And we just want to thank everyone for tuning in for another episode of your favorite American Caribbean podcast. Thank you for everyone that liked, subscribe, send your comments, that sent us DMs, for sharing. And if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified every time we drop an episode.
Absolutely.
So today, what is our topic, Kiana?
Today we're talking about boy mom. So you see our shirts, we have Team Boy.
And I'm Team Girl.
So what do we mean when we say boy mom, right? So boy mom is a way to identify and connect other mothers who have sons, or is it? It can also mean, like mothers who believe that they're their son's first love, and vice versa with dads and their daughters. And also, as of late, boy mom has somewhat become this negative stereotype whereby, we discuss boy mom as like mothers who are, like, for lack of better words, obsessed with their sons. And it causes like an unhealthy dynamic where a mother might rely on her son to be the man in her life or in the home. And basically that means like the son will need to like fulfill emotional or psychological like needs for the mother, and which is typically reserved for like a husband or a partner.
Yes.
And this dynamic have serious implications, serious emotional development issues as well. And his relationship can be impacted with himself and with others. In particular, if he goes on to, get married or has a partner, that can be impacted. And we're going to talk about it. So Shaka, tell me, what does a toxic boy mom behavior look like?
Good. It's a great question. So that's the reason why we want to do it. Yes, boy mom is celebrated and it's fun, right? But we've seen a lot lately in the media, especially people talking about, well, I'm a boy mom, I do this, and I'm a boy mom, and I do. Well, yes, we're happy that you're a boy mom. We're happy that you have sons. Which goes back to way back in the days where a son was valued more than having a daughter. But we're not going to talk about historical stuff. We're just going to talk about being a boy mom and how your responsibility is to shape and mold them and not go into the negative way, which we're seeing a rise of toxic boy mom behavior. So what does that exactly look like? First thing, enforcing old gender stereotype, right? A lot of times boys have this way and girls have this way of doing things or whatever. And when you're a boy mom, a lot of times they enforce that traditional thing, like not encouraging emotions because you need to be a man. No, this is a boy, this is a child, let him be a child, let him be let him be a boy, let him have emotions, right? So that's one thing. Encouraging toxic masculinity, right? Definitely don't want that. And that can in turn girls, right? Daughters, because a lot of these boy moms have daughters as well. But a lot of toxic boy mom, they focus so much on being a boy mom, they don't even focus on the daughters, which can have effects on the daughters as well, right? And this is what we want to talk about. So even daughters witnessing this specific toxic masculinity could they confirm it to the female roles and making sure that they're picking up all the slack, cooking, cleaning, doing all the things when the boy's not doing anything like that. And doing that could definitely affect both dynamics, right? So even you being this boy mom pushing this thing, it could definitely make the daughters in your life feel like, that you don't care as much for them as well, right? So that's something that you want to think about. Even suppressing the boys emotions can cause the daughters to suppress their emotions as well. So that's something that you absolutely want to focus on. Also, excusing bad behavior, right? Definitely excusing bad behavior, because as you know, we will have a saying, boys will be boys. And we absolutely don't want that kind of attitude. So that's something as well. A toxic boy mom, and you guys are not a toxic boy mom, right? So we want to make sure we highlight those things so we're not enforcing those things or encouraging those things going forward.
Great point. And I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of times that can bring about comparisons whereby a boy mom will make like unfavorable comparisons between their daughters and their son, which can reinforce like sexist attitude and behaviors. Like, for example, telling her daughter, you can't study law, for example, like, you're a girl or something simple like that. Like, we hope that's not the case in 2024. But, a lot of times people feel like, by default, men are the leaders, and girls should just fall back. And that's a whole different thing that we can get into. And it also talks about the unexpected and unequal expectations and behavior when it comes to simple things as chores in the home. Like, the boy might get off with not doing anything,
Yes,
or have minimal chores compared to the daughters. And at the end of the day, men and women eat. We all make a mess, so we all need to clean.
that's true.
We all need to cook. We need to do laundry. So setting up your, when moms set up their sons like that, that have negative ramifications to come, especially for their whoever they choose as their partner. And then it also talks about, like, competition. Like, there's always going to be an aspect of competition where whenever there's challenges of raising boys can create a competitive or comparative atmosphere where the daughters feel like they have to vie for attention of the mom.
Yes,
Because no matter what they do, it's never good enough. It's never overshadowed. That reminds me of that show we were watching. We're going to recommend it in another episode. That new show I told you about, in terms of, like, the daughter always having to cuddle the brother's feeling. She could never outshine the brother because it always champion on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
She's not watching the show, but I told her
it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's a really good example of when there's like a boy mom.
Yeah,
how
she's definitely a toxic.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys see it. I started watching it Netflix.
Yeah.
Champion. Yeah, you're right. You're right. She is a toxic boy mom.
Whatever the daughter did, it was never enough. It was never enough. So she always like trying to compete to do whatever it is that the mother wants, and the mother is still like, girl, I do not care. For lack of better words.
Yes, that's so true.
And it makes the daughter feel so undervalued.
Yeah.
If a mother overly emphasizes her identity as like a boy mom, and she's all for her boys and all of that, like, her sons and stuff like that. And not to say that she's complete, and she might not be completely neglecting her daughter or daughters. So we're not saying like, this is a mother who have sons and daughters, and she's like all for her sons, and then she completely neglects her daughter, which can be true in many aspects, but a lot of times it may not look that vast, that drastic. It may be subtle things that is there.
Yeah.
And you might be a boy mom and not realize it. And we're not coming for you, but it's something for you to be aware of and to make the necessary changes, because this makes daughters feel so undervalued, which leads to feeling, like they're inadequate, and which can develop into low self-esteem.
Exactly.
So what impacts does this have on sons? Because we talked about daughters, and let's explore sons.
Okay, so I mean, being a toxic boy mom, for better where it's at, it does have a lot of impact on the son as well. We don't even mention the daughter, but it does have a lot of impact on the son, like emotional dependency, like always depending on your mom. Yes, and I know some mom loves that. Well, my son, I got to do this for my son. I got to do this for my son, and you take that as a pride, and I understand, because you're in that caring or nurturing position, but you want your sons to have independence, emotional independence.
Let me ask you a question. If the mom does it for both their daughter and their son, is that a problem? Or
yes. I think it is a problem, but it depends on if it's too much. Obviously, you got to do for your kids. That's a given. But you don't want your son or your daughter calling you for every little decision, because that's going to affect them in the long run, even with their spouses. Absolutely. Right? So you never want that to happen. So to having that emotional dependency, every minute something happens, you calling your mom before you call your wife. Yeah. So you want to ensure that you build them up to have that independence. Okay,
that makes sense. And I love that you say that, about, a lot of times before they call like their spouse or their partner, they call their mom or whoever else, because it's important, and this impacts sons who are boy moms. they have difficulty establishing boundaries. Because, like you said, instead of relying on their partner, they call their mom because their mom might be their go-to person, and by default, it's easier to reach out to that support. Which support, having support from your parents is very important, but it's important to have boundaries once you're older, and especially when you're in a relationship. Have healthy boundaries when you're in adult relationships, because that is so important.
Yeah, and also um having, that autonomy, basically not able to make decisions as well, like without your mom. So you're going through your son's going through a challenge at work, or something happening with money or anything, and
Mm-hmm.
what happening, they calling their mom for everything. And once again, some person be like, well, what's wrong with that? But that could lead to low self-esteem issues, because he now doesn't trust himself to make good decisions. And I know that, yes, we want to be there, we want to be the helicopter parent. There's another episode.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be there, we want to guide them, we want to do all those things.
Yeah.
But you're raising, if you're going to encourage all this masculinity, you're raising a man, so he needs to be able to make that decision, right?
Absolutely.
Once again, you can guide, but once again, if you continue to make all the decisions for him, guess what? Your sonny son ain't going to make any decision for himself, and you're going to end up in trouble.
Absolutely. And could also have challenges in romantic relationships, because a lot of times they either unconsciously or consciously end up looking for partners that reminds them or behaves like their mother. Like they want that to be their experience. And a lot of times that either means, they struggle with intimacy, and either by being emotionally unavailable, they're closed off from their partner, or they're overly dependent on their partner for everything. And that's something that they can face. And once again, by being a boy mom and overly dependent on your sons, a lot of times that can impact in their future relationships.
Yeah, and that's something we want to definitely pose to the audience, right? Because this came up a lot, looking at a lot of content online, and a lot of persons complaining about their spouses being a mama's boy.
Yes.
Right? Definitely, I know a lot of you girls, or spouse wives on the online, or anybody, they're just like commenting like, yes, exactly, he calls his mom for everything. Is she a toxic boy mom? And now you're thinking about those things. So we want to pose a question to you guys. Now, do you think, you're right, are you married to a mama's boy, or you think your mother-in-law is a toxic boy mom, right? And we want to ask you, how did it affect your relationship? Send us a message, let us know, so we can definitely discuss
at Alignment and Healing.
Yes. Discuss on our next episode, because we're not done with this topic. Next episode, we want to talk about, because it's a very big topic,
loaded,
right?
Loaded,
right? Being a boy, because I know we sprung it on you guys, and it's like, oh, boy mom, what is that? Yes, and there are a lot of good boy moms. I know there are a lot of good boy moms. Not coming for the
No, we're not coming for the moms
with sons.
With
Yes,
sons. It's more to it than that. So let's make a disclaimer that boy moms are not just moms who, like, they adore their sons, they love their son in a healthy way. We're talking about the moms who does not have boundaries in terms of how they view their sons, and are heavily reliant on them emotionally, or have them take a role in their life that is beyond that of a son.
correct.
So when we say boy mom, we're referring to those type of mothers.
Correct. So definitely send us any questions, or you have talk about your situation, so we can discuss how we can better deal with this thing. Because in the next episode, we're continuing with boy mom, but how it affects their relationship with their romantic partner.
Ooh,
okay, so
yeah,
exactly. So definitely send us and let us know let us know what you're going through, and how you're dealing with it, and how we can deal with it going forward. Okay,
well, thank you as always for staying to the end, because we're know for a fact that you're enjoying this podcast, and you're liking the content that we're providing. We really ask that you share it with your loved ones and friends. It would mean the world to us, the support by growing our channel. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, so that you are alerted whenever we upload a new episode. We thank you so much for also following us on all platforms. You're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram at Lyman and Healing. Please send us any questions. Either leave it in the comments or via DM. We love to engage with you. But once again,
Bust a lime, bust a lime. See you next time.